The Dragon Egg. In every single Minecraft world, there is only one. If the egg is lost or destroyed, it's gone forever, with no way to get it back. Well, what if I told you that on the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft, the Dragon Egg still exists? Despite the server being a decade old, the egg has managed to survive. But it almost didn't. The chaotic journey the Dragon Egg has taken on 2b2t is quite an unusual story. From the egg first being found, to its eventual use in exploits and as a weapon. You heard that right, a weapon. I have a lot of explaining to do today, so let's get started. When 2b2t began back in December of 2010, the Dragon Egg didn't exist yet. This is because the End Dimension and Ender Dragon were not added to Minecraft until late 2011. By the time Minecraft entered its 1.0 release phase, including the dragon fight, 2b2t was already almost a year old. In a normal Minecraft world, the End could be found by entering a portal in one of the 3 strongholds located near a world spawn region. Well, on 2b2t, the chunks where the strongholds were supposed to be had already been generated, meaning that the strongholds and their portals were missing. Players began asking the server's admin, Housemaster, if he had any intention of adding the portals. He said, no. It seemed that House insisted that 2b2t continue on as normal without admin interference and without an end dimension. But when you have a server with no rules, players will always find a way to accomplish a goal, especially one as lucrative as illegally entering the end dimension. Near the end of 2011, 2b2t was backdoored, giving select players access to every single block in the game, including end portal frames. Pop Bob and Police Mike were among the first players to obtain the blocks. They traveled to the most established spawn base at the time, the NFE, and attempted to activate a portal deep underground. However, when they inserted the Eyes of Ender into the portal frames, nothing happened. They believed that House may have disabled end portals entirely, so they gave up on entering the dimension and abandoned their portal. Progress would stagnate for a while, until March of 2012, when longtime 2b2t player XCC2 came into possession of a stack of portal frames. XC believed that a stronghold's portal room had to be recreated block for block in order to make the portal activate. So he went to the NFE and built an exact replica of a stronghold's portal room underground, not far from where Pop Bob and Mike's failed portal was. XC invited Police Mike to help him finish the replica portal room. After placing all the blocks correctly and inserting the Eyes of Ender into the frames, to their surprise, the portal ignited. Pop Bob and Mike's original portal was not aligned properly, so nothing happened when they placed the eyes. Sounds like a funny situation, but remember that end portal frames as a block were not obtainable in survival, so tutorials on how to create portals were basically non-existent in 2011 and early 2012. Still in shock that the portal worked, XCC2 and Police Mike stepped in and became the first players in 2b2t history to generate the end dimension. After standing around watching the dragon fly, they realized that they had jumped into the portal without the proper gear to fight, so they jumped off the end island so that they could prepare. XCC2 invited his friend JDW9966 to help him slay the dragon. Armed to the teeth, XC and JDW entered the portal once more and fought the dragon. After a hard-fought battle, the dragon was defeated. XCC2 didn't really know about the Dragon Egg, so he left the End after the battle was over. But JD managed to grab the egg before leaving. And this is where the long journey of 2b2t's Dragon Egg begins. In the months following the death of the Ender Dragon, many other portals were built at bases all around 2b2t. House had been inactive for several months, so all of these things were happening without his knowledge. When he finally returned and realized that the end had been generated illegally, he became furious. He began going around the server deleting every end portal that had been created, and began removing portal frames from player inventories. He also deleted all the end stone that had been brought back from the end and placed in the world. And he made it so that any end stone that got placed would instantly vanish from here on out. A plugin was also installed so that right-clicking on a portal frame would make it disappear. Finally, House went in and completely deleted 2b2t's end dimension. He effectively made it so that the original slaying of the Ender Dragon never happened. The end had been hard reset. When it came to the egg, House had no idea who was in possession of it. He didn't have time to manually check every single player's inventory. He figured that it would get lost or destroyed on its own. House's reasoning was that, well, there was only one dragon egg. It's likely to have already been lost. Well, unknown to House, the egg still existed, and there wasn't just one. Remember when JDW took the egg from the original dragon fight? Well, in the months that followed, JD had been duping it. In early Minecraft, it was possible to use pistons to make copies of any block that was affected by gravity, such as gravel or sand. The dragon egg happened to be affected by gravity as well, and duping machines were used to make multiple copies of it. Hundreds of eggs were being produced each day and distributed amongst the elite players of 2b2t. By the time House went on his rampage destroying all traces of the original end, thousands of eggs were already in circulation without his knowledge. Despite there being thousands of eggs, the end dimension was still off limits to the player base. XCC2 got into contact with House and suggested to him he go to the spots where strongholds should have generated on 2b2t's map and use the /regenerate command in order to create fresh chunks that would include strongholds and portals. House actually listened and created the portals in the proper locations. He formally reopened the end, and players were finally publicly able to enter. iTristan, Talo, and a few others went in and killed the second Ender Dragon. Talo was given ownership of the second egg, which, like the first egg, would be duped into oblivion. From 2013 to 2016, massive piles of eggs began to show up in random places all over the map, likely being dumped by players that had too many of them. During this time, it wasn't uncommon for new players to stumble upon large piles of them while escaping spawn. By this time, both JDW and Talo's eggs had been duped so many times that the originals could no longer be identified. So I guess, in a way, you could say that both the original eggs had been lost at this point. House installed a plugin that made it so that having dragon eggs in your inventory would cause them to turn into stone. This plugin would be turned on and off throughout the years, depending on whether House felt like it or not, so it was never successful in preventing the spread of dragon eggs. For a time, nothing really changed regarding them. End portals were often griefed. 2b2t could go months at a time without proper access to the end dimension. At one point, the only way to get in was using private portals still left over from the plugin days. Regardless, dragon eggs remained a fun novelty and collectible item. But then, the YouTube invasion of 2016 began, and the server underwent massive changes that bring us into the next chapter of the Dragon Eggs journey. In the summer of 2016, when war consumed the entire server, it was a time of exploits, chaos, guerrilla tactics, and griefing. Bases were falling every single week. Well, at some point during the summer, it was discovered that the Dragon Egg had a unique use that no other block in the game could do: destroy bedrock. From what I understand, if you had a redstone circuit that stretched all the way out to an unloaded chunk, and had a dragon egg above a redstone torch, pushing it with a piston would cause it to delete the block directly under the torch, including bedrock. Players would use this technique to delete illegal bedrock that had been placed by players years previously. This included the Bedrock Comet, Pyro's bedrock placed in the center of Wrath Outpost, and Jack the Ripper's bedrock foundation at the original Space Valk. The Dragon Egg went from a novelty to a weaponized griefing tool. After word got out about the exploit, House temporarily brought back the plugin that turned eggs into stone blocks. But the damage had been done. Replicas of the very same egg JDW had claimed years previously had been used to grief something that used to be considered ungriefable. Eventually, the eggs would return to just being a fun novelty and trophy, and nothing more. That brings us to today. The Dragon Egg is still widely distributed amongst the 2b2t community. Currently, the Dragon Egg has no real use in Minecraft, but should the developers give it a use of some kind, there's no telling what ramifications it could have on 2b2t, considering just how many eggs there are. It's fun to think about. The Dragon Egg on 2b2t was smuggled out of the end illegally, duped countless times, and was eventually used as a tool of destruction. Only on 2b2t could a single egg have a history like this. I hope you learned something today. Well, anyway, that's it. For more 2b2t content, make sure to subscribe. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram to stay updated on when new 2b2t content is arriving. That's it, everyone. Take it easy, and if you plan to play on 2b2t, just make sure to stay alive out there, Fit Fam.